Howdy, fellow movie watchers. Welcome to Friends and Foes alike as we get started on our first week of the greatest action scene tournament here on the ONETA Show, in conjunction with the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. Along with me is my Wisco Movie Watchers podcast co-host, Dylan Davies. I am your host, Evan Davies. We have 64 movies to talk about, Dylan.
Yeah.
We got a lot.
Well, 64 scenes.
64 scenes, correct. 64 scenes.
A little bit easier.
So, in this, the greatest action scene tournament, we're trying to figure out what the greatest action scene of all time is. Per our opinion, right? We each have our own favorites. What we're going to be doing is, Dylan and I are both allotted 10 points. And it's just how many points do you favor each scene. So, he might say, oh, I favor this 7-3, I favor this 6-4. We add up the cumulative points, and the winner goes on. For the sake of both time and sanity for this project, the loser will probably get more discussion.
Yeah, just so we're not talking about one scene over and over and over again.
Right, and so we're going to probably give you 30 seconds to a minute, or if love gushes, that's fine. But we're going to give you a little bit so you understand why we do it, but not so much that you never want to hear it again. Unless it's like close and we have to make a determination. Then we might have to get into something like that. But that is how we're going to be doing this. If you have not seen it already, we revealed the entire bracket on last week's episode of the ONETA Show. And there are 4 divisions: the Yo division, the Cruise division, the Weaver division, and the Arnold division. You can find all of those in single form as well if you want to just kind of see what the tournament's going to be like. That's available too. But we had 4 play-in games, which are all also available to you in single format as well. They were also in last week's show. Dylan, are you ready to rumble?
Yep.
As am I. We're going to start in the Yo bracket with the number 1 seed of the Yo division, which is the docking sequence from Interstellar, taking on the play-in winner of the Ben-Hur and Lion King fight. It is the chariot race from Ben-Hur. How did you point total this one up?
So this one wasn't close. It was 8-2 in favor of Interstellar.
I thought about even 9-1, but I went 8-2.
Yeah.
So I went 8-2 Interstellar, so for a total score of 16-4. Interstellar will be moving on. Let's talk about the winner quick, and then gush about Ben-Hur.
Okay.
The Interstellar docking sequence, I have no problem admitting my bias. It might be one of, if not my favorite movie scene of all time. It's just, I don't know what, it hits. Yeah. It just hits for me. That scene, not necessarily the whole movie, but that scene. The music, mixed with the human fear, mixed with just the intensity in which everything is happening. And they're all things that you can tangibly understand. Even if you've been to a county fair Gravitron, you understand what they're up against.
Yeah.
And it allows it to be super tangible, which I think is the gift of Christopher Nolan. You'll be seeing that a lot in this tournament, is what Nolan can do with things. So that was why I thought Interstellar was as strong as it was for 8-2.
Yeah, the biggest... We really talked about Ben-Hur a lot.
Yes, we did.
In that last episode. So if you want a bigger, deeper dive on it, go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
But one of the things we did point out about that Ben-Hur scene is that there's no music at all.
It's tough.
And then when you go up against this Interstellar scene, which has some of the best action sequence music of the past decade. Well, I guess 11 years now, just over a decade.
The past 20 years.
Yeah.
I would still put up in the past 25 years of this entire century. It's one of the best action scenes with music. Yeah.
And it's that very operatic organ music.
Yes, it's incredible.
It sounds fantastic. Yeah. I love going back on YouTube and just looking up people playing that music on those big, huge church organs.
Ooh, I've never actually done that. I just watch the scene entirely all the time. So
it's pretty fantastic because those big ass old churches that have those humongous organs.
Yeah.
It's pretty epic.
That sounds rad as hell. So, I mean, that is why the music is the MVP of the Interstellar scene.
Hmm.
It goes again to showcase how important sound is to scenes, because there's a lot of times my biggest bitch for some of these scenes are going to be sound, because it takes you out or something goes on that you're just like, what? I'm not sure about that. Again, Ben-Hur, the only reason I gave it the 2 points, the cinematography in that is incredible. And
Yeah,
it,
production is like we said, production design, cinematography, and stunt work. Like
it
considering it's the late 50s,
yeah.
it's impeccable.
The we gushed about this a lot. I'm still not over the dummy scenes. The dummy
Oh yeah,
scenes are the dummy work is incredible in that
uh,
scene.
yeah. Other than like modern day CG digi doubles,
Mm-hmm.
it's the best practical dummies I've ever seen in a movie.
I would argue the exact
Because
same.
they're better than like all the fake dummies in the 90s, where it's like clearly a dummy. It's somehow they pull it off. I don't know
Like
how,
even
but
like Phantom Menace style, where it's clearly just it turns into a dummy after
yeah,
6 feet.
yeah. It's really weird how they pull it off, but
It's incredible the way they do it. Again, if you're trying to learn and you want to learn about cinematography, go watch that scene from Ben-Hur. That's a great way to understand why cinematography is as important as it is, and what takes you from if you're someone who wants to make movies like we do, and we were kids where you made your movies all the time. It takes you from the static, we'll see they're doing it on screen, to the that brings up so much emotion, so
yeah.
much tension. It's tremendous. But Interstellar 16-4 win here for Interstellar over Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur, thank you for playing. Glad you got in the tournament. I think it's good to relay some of these old movies very well. Our next one, and this is where I should mention again, the only movies that were seeded in this tournament were our number one seeds and the play-in games. We picked the 8 weakest for the play-in games, and then we picked our four best where we just thought this is probably going to win,
Hmm.
so to speak. But we're not entirely sure on that one yet. This is how you can tell all the other seeds were random, because there's no way in hell I would have put these two up in round one against each
Yeah.
other. So we're going to go to the stairwell fight in Atomic Blonde, taking on the Crazy 88 fight in Kill Bill, the original Kill Bill. How did you score this one?
So this one I did 7-3 in favor of Kill Bill.
I have 6-4 in favor of Kill Bill as well.
Okay.
And it pains me because I love Atomic Blonde a lot.
Yeah, I have not seen the full movie Atomic Blonde. I've only seen this sequence. So it, the problem is now that Atomic Blonde, I think it was like 2014,
2017.
maybe.
2017.
Okay, so it's that late. Okay. So the problem is I've seen so many movies like that now
Okay.
that like these scenes just don't impact me that much anymore.
I
Because once you know the 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 cheat code of the oneer, like that they're not actually one take,
Yeah.
they're actually splicing together multiple takes with seamless cutting.
Yeah.
Like once you know how that's done, then it's like
It's not
it
as
doesn't
impressive to you.
yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me anymore. Cause it's just like why there has to be a reason why you're doing the one take for me. And a lot of the reason just seems kind of pointless,
Okay. I mean,
honestly.
that's fair enough. Um, I just think this is the most. This is going to be. I'm going to try to avoid using this word as much as I probably will. Uh, this is a visceral fight scene.
Hmm.
There are no punches pulled. There is no. What I love about it, and it's so admirable in terms of an action sequence, is you just have a badass woman, and she's gonna get punched in the face. She's gonna get hit in the gut. She's gonna get shot at, and it does not matter. It's
Yeah.
just balls to the wall. I'm coming. They're out to kill me. I'm out to kill them to survive. And I hate when you have to say the female version of whatever, but this to me is the closest. I'm interested to see how the ballerina's going to do with it. This is the closest I've ever seen to, and not even the closest. It echoes John Wick a lot
Yeah,
in the fight choreography and the how brutal they are, just
yeah,
beating the shit out of each
and
other.
it's the same director,
Yeah,
so
which makes sense that it's a similar
yeah.
style and
Well,
everything.
I don't know if he had directed any John Wicks at that point.
John Wick 1
Maybe
comes out in 2015, I think. So,
did he direct the first one?
Chad Stahelski?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know he co-directed one of them, and then he like took over. I think.
Or maybe he
As,
co-direct. Yeah, maybe he co-directed the first one.
yeah. Um. Yeah, it's like very Jason Bourne, very John Wick, like late stage Bond kind of fighting.
Yes.
I really like. This is one argument for the one take, but because you know it's not actually one take, it kind of defeats the purpose. But like, I really like how they're showing like how tired they are getting throughout the
Yes, that's great.
fighting. Like you can tell it's like it's straining physically how straining it is for everyone. I like that part of it because like that's one thing I will gripe about quite a bit actually throughout this tournament is like how how many times there's like people just taking brutal fucking punches and stuff to the face and they're just unfazed.
Yes, and that's another thing. I love that about Atomic Blonde. When they're at the end of the stairway, or the end of the stairway, when they're that one floor down, and she's on a landing, and they're just looking at each other, and they can't even move because they're just breathing so heavy. I
Yeah.
love that. It's the same reason why I love other scenes where one of the things they try is fails. Not like a counter move, just like, oh, this is going to be a big action set piece, and it fails and it doesn't work. I
Hmm.
love when that happens because you get that dose of reality in there that it makes it feel more tangible and real. So yeah, that's something I absolutely adore. Charlize Theron has to be in incredible cardiovascular shape for this.
Oh
She's
yeah,
just
yeah,
constantly doing shit that you're like, God damn, girl.
yeah. I watched a little bit of the behind the scenes, and yeah, she was doing a lot of it herself. So
That's
kudos to her.
that's tremendous. But again, we're gonna give the nod 17 or 13-7 Kill Bill.
Yeah.
What a little bit on why you favored Kill Bill.
So purely, this was literally the only note I wrote on Kill Bill. I favored it purely because it's way more unique.
Sure.
Like I like to see different variety in this, and I feel like there's so many scenes like Atomic Blonde.
I can understand that. And the other thing is Atomic Blonde is great. I don't want to take away from Atomic
No,
Blonde.
it's a great scene.
Like I said, and also I highly this would Atomic Blonde would be one of the movies that many people haven't seen from this tournament that I would recommend you go watch immediately.
Hmm.
Having said that, it's already in the style of John Wick, as you said, Born without the shaky cam.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
we've got some Daniel Craig Bond in here, where it's that very in your face, brutal, constant physical attack. And if one is probably going to get out of here, it's going to be a John Wick scene. It's not going to probably be Atomic Blonde
Yeah,
for that style of scene. For Kill Bill, it's just such a unique. I'll be the first to admit. I said this during our playing game with Police Story. A lot of the Asian film stereotypes, I don't particularly like all that much. Uh, some of the just random. Oh, we can randomly float a little bit. You're like, why?
see, I don't mind that at all.
It,
Just
it,
because like I'm all for weirdness.
so I'm fine with weirdness with an explanation. But
Oh,
when you,
see, I'm fine with it without an explanation.
but Kill Bill is intentionally it's styled to be absurd.
Oh
So
yeah,
when
it's
you
definitely
style
like
it to be
it's
absurd,
definitely
it's
an
okay.
yeah, it's definitely an homage, like before anything.
And that is where I would say that's why I'm okay with that versus other stuff that's supposed to be like real and gritty and it happens and
Yeah,
you're just like, but how? how in the fuck did that happen? You know?
Hmm.
So that's always why I get a little concerned by those things. I don't believe Kill Bill suffers from that. I think it's a great homage. And then because it's a Tarantino movie and they're always going to be irreverent, the dialogue, as cheesy as it gets at times, it works because of the Tarantino style.
Yeah.
That
And
it gives a
actually,
shit.
Kill Bill is like one of my least favorite Tarantino movies.
I don't know. I've just watched Kill Bill for the first time a month ago, so I'm
Oh,
not,
okay.
and it was in research for this tournament.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then it also continues my 2025 journey of just filling holes of stuff I haven't
Sure.
watched.
Yeah.
I've watched 35 movies thus far, 36 movies this year of stuff from the past that I've never watched and just tried to. And now I'm trying to get in on. So I don't know where Kill Bill would rank in my Tarantino film library. Hateful Eight's still my favorite, but
Okay.
Kill Bill would. When I first started watching Kill Bill, like the first 30 minutes, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? But by the end of it, I was like, this is
Yeah.
rad. This is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad or anything. I
Yeah.
just like there's so many better Tarantino movies to me. So next one, Baby Driver versus The Incredibles.
So
So
Baby
we're doing
Driver is
the opening scene,
Baby Driver.
uh,
Hmm.
the driving sequence, and then the Incredibles sequence where Violet and Dash are fighting Syndrome's little glider guys.
Right. I am.
So I was split. I said 5-5. So whatever, you're the decider on this one.
I'm 6'4" Incredibles.
Okay, that's fine with me.
So Baby Driver, I like Baby Driver as a movie, but I'm
So do
not.
I.
But I feel like it's one of those movies that because it was unique during its time or it had a unique little gimmick or whatever, a lot of the people around me loved Baby Driver. And I was like, yeah, it's good.
Mm.
But everyone's like, no, it's a man. And I just went, and immediately I say this right now. I have the Kramer in me. I have hipster tendencies. I have no problem admitting that. So when people get way too much onto something, I just kind of go, okay. I try to let it lie because
Sure.
it takes away from me. And I went back and rewatched Baby Driver, just expecting it to be okay. I remember it. There's some good driving. I was floored at how good it was set up, and there was a lot of intelligence put into that scene. Not just they drive well. I love the moments of all the turns, all the ways to avoid obstacles, where you're showing character work in it. But I love the intelligence of swapping spots with the red cars to lose somebody. I
Mhm.
loved the I loved the turn of where he just knows how to knock his tire perfectly to get the spikes, the
Yeah, the
road
road spikes.
spikes towards
Yeah.
a police car instead of his own.
Hmm.
That I think is the best part of that scene because you just go, how is he going to get through this one? You're like, oh goddamn, okay, kid, nice.
Yeah.
Those moments
And,
are really good.
yeah, it does have like all the like telltale parts of a car chase sequence
Sure.
that makes it like iconic because you really want like a couple of beats that are really memorable,
Sure.
which it has with like the red car switcheroo and the road spikes. Then you also want like that kind of iconic shot that you would normally like would really stick in someone's mind.
Yeah.
And that shot to me is the one where it's like drifting and it comes within like a couple feet of the camera.
Yeah.
That's the shot that really sticks with me. And yeah, I've seen the behind the scenes and it's like that's an impressive feat for someone to do that to get that close to a camera and to keep having to pull that off over and over again. I don't know if maybe they hit the camera and had to replace an expensive camera. That would suck because that's probably $100,000 right there. But
Yes, but if you get the shot,
yeah, if you get the shot, that's all that matters.
if you get that shot, you maybe made $1 million just from that shot. Or
Oh no, I remember that shot being in the trailer,
yeah,
and it's a great shot. It's awesome.
And it's one of the ones that sells it. I think the character introduction here I like because it's in the link that I am going to post in the video on how to on the scene exactly that I watched, which I'm sure you probably watched the exact same one. It's like the official clip, and it has the trailer at the back end or part of the trailer at the back
Yep,
end,
yep.
and it's a great introduction to Baby, and I love the juxtaposition between the bank robbery happening, and you know bank robbery's happening. You could clearly tell from the first 10 seconds that, well, they're going to go rob a bank. and
Yeah.
and yet Baby's just sitting there by himself with his headphones in, and there's just something so relatable because everybody's done that. Of just being in their own world and just getting into something on their own way, and then be like, but to have that juxtaposed with a bank robbery and he's going to be the getaway driver. And even the first time that John Bernthal's telling him drive, and he's like pointing this way, and he just goes, "Nope, I'm going backwards."
Yeah, that's another like kind of like quietly iconic part of it.
Yeah,
It's like when he points, but then it goes backwards. That's pretty cool. And you
and
do get actually a lot of character moments because you get like John Bernthal just being a complete asshole, and he clearly does not like Ansel Elgort in it,
yeah,
but like you get some development, which is nice.
yeah. So again, I favor a lot of stuff with character. That's where if the things that take me out of action scenes is when it's action for the sake of action. So it either has to be iconic, perfectly mapped, something's done for a scene like that to be higher in my mind. I favor when the action scene can still tell a story, can still give you something about a character. That's why I went with The Incredibles. There is so much character development to Dash in that 3 minutes of him running, which is insane.
Yeah,
And that's what I really appreciate out of it.
that's what Pixar's great at.
And it shows two young people not knowing their way in the world, learning their way in the world, which is, but specifically Dash, I just running for his life. He's like, well, I know I can run fast. Oh, I could do this. I could do that. Oh, I can run on water. I'm that fast. It's like, okay. And then the section where he drops into the water because he's like, oh, I can't outrun this. But if I just drop and they take each other out, I can do that. And it shows that the kid's got some intelligence to him. There's something more to it than just guy can run fast.
Yeah. Those early Pixar movies are definitely like pretty much the only exclusion of movies by committee being failures,
Yeah.
Like those are the only ones that were actually successes because Pixar's very like a collaborative kind of a joint venture
Yeah.
in all their movies, but like they're the only ones that can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But incredible scene work there, and it's mapped really well. And there's still facial shots. There's all these things that a traditional action scene has that you think animation wouldn't. And Lion King turned me. You heard me on the preview show a couple weeks back that I didn't know if animation belonged in this tournament at all.
Yeah.
And then to have something like this or Lion King in the tournament, and then to advance shows, okay, I'm coming around. Okay. Because I like animation, but it's not something that I immediately go, oh, I want to watch this animated movie. So, really well done. And yet, just another painful reminder for a comic book fan. We've had a good Fantastic Four movie. It was The Incredibles.
Yes. Yep.
It's
100%.
just replace. All you have to do is replace Dash's running fast with flying with fire. And that is Fantastic Four to a T.
Or you give the Johnny Flame character to a baby.
Yes. Well, and the other thing is like you can get Franklin Richards in there, where it's the smartest kid in the universe that has like every power imaginable with Jack, and you're like, this is. Do people not see? They just read a bunch of Fantastic Four comics and made it work. That's all they did.
Hey, there you go. Pixar's great.
But 11-9 victory for The Incredibles. Baby Driver. So far, that was a good competitive one.
Yeah, that was close.
All right, we're going to move on. Stick in the yo bracket. We're going to go the motorbike and 18-wheeler chase from Terminator 2 versus Speed, and it's where we have Keanu Reeves' character gets shot underneath on the like essentially car work slider thing where you slide underneath the car to
Yeah,
do work in it. He's trying to defuse the bomb and it's being held by a truck as the bus is
yeah,
still going
uh,
over 50 miles per hour.
like a mechanic trolley
Yes, it's a
thing.
mechanic's trolley essentially.
I don't know what the fuck to call it.
I gotta look up the exact term for that. Again, Speed was a difficult one for us because there's so many great individual moments in
Yes,
Speed that you're like, what do you
that
pick?
that is going to be my explanation of why I made my choice.
Okay.
So I went 7-3 in favor of Terminator,
Okay.
and it's purely because I thought Terminator 2 was much more of a full action sequence, whereas Speed is very much like a high adrenaline moment in a movie that is almost all action.
Yeah, Speed is the archetype or the prototype to Mad Max Fury Road,
Yes, yes, very true.
where Speed has more breaks to give you character moments. Fury Road is just characters in the action as
Yes.
well. But that's the prototype. That's the blueprint. I went 6-4 Speed. I'm sorry,
Oh,
6-4.
okay.
I went 6-4 Terminator 2. So Terminator 2 is going to
Oh,
get the
okay.
victory. I had a similar thought process where I enjoy Speed more than I do Terminator 2. I think Terminator
So
2 is
so do I.
slightly overrated. I think it's great. I don't want to say it's
Yeah.
bad. I don't want anyone to take that from me, but Terminator 2 always gets this thing of like greatest sequel of all time. And it's like, first of
Oh,
all,
I definitely wouldn't agree with
I was
that.
like,
No.
first of all, Empire Strikes Back exists, Dark Knight exists. We're not even in the same ballpark.
Temple of Doom exists.
I think Terminator 2 is probably a better sequel to
The Mummy
Terminator than.
Returns exists.
Oh God, you and your mummy true thing. Um, but
I'm just
again,
kidding. The Mummy Returns is only decently good.
I was gonna say it's not the original for you, right?
Oh no. I mean, nothing beats the original. It's
Also, we need to take a quick time out. When do you want to cover the mummy? Because I know we're gonna cover it eventually on this show.
I don't know if it can be considered anything. It's not cult classic.
I mean, here's the thing: we can just go into rewatchable mode and just be like, "Hey, we just love this movie. We're gonna watch it."
When's the last time you saw it?
The original Mummy.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's been at least 15 to 20 years. I want to say.
Okay. I'll force you to rewatch it then. That'll be fun.
Maybe that's what we'll do for family movie night. You'll have us watch the Mummy, and then we'll watch Sleepaway Camp, and that'll be our double feature for the night. But getting back into our tournament here, again, I think Speed. It's a great moment. I think we even couldn't agree on what we would do because I argued for the bus jump in Speed,
Hmm.
and we eventually came to the conclusion that on the mechanic trolley was the better option. The reason I gave it such a close score of 6-4 is when you are judging something, you inherently have to look for critical moments. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Speed scene. What I think is going to take Terminator 2 out of the running for me later is there are a few obvious shots where there is a stunt double in the scene.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's the issue. And I understand
I
it's being made in 1990 for a 1991 release, and ILM is just learning how to do the digital mapping and other things like that. So
Yeah, the facial replacement.
I
Yeah.
don't want to take that away, but it's almost as if Cameron wanted the spectacle so much that he gave up part of the reality in trying to give you a realistic scene. It was very strange, the dynamic for him.
Wait, who are you talking about specifically?
Well, so there's 2 or 3 shots where there is clearly an adult riding Edward Furlong's bike.
Yes, those are the ones that I was like, okay, that's just funny because like it is clearly an adult.
And
The
I'm not.
Edward Furlong is like hilariously, like so clearly a teenager or a young teenager,
Yeah.
and then it's like clearly a guy in his mid-20s. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
And so those took me out. And also, there's a couple with Arnold as well. Like the big one where he's driving the motorcycle off into the ravine as well. It's so clearly a stunt double. And the end of the scene, they map it perfectly where Arnold's back on the bike so that
I
they
was
try to get away with it. But
I was expecting more of it though. I was actually pleasantly surprised that he was actually riding the bike for most of it.
and then at the same time, when he grabs John off his motorbike and puts him onto the motorcycle with him, it's so clear that they're both doubles that
Oh, I didn't notice that.
it took me out. Where you can see it's clearly not Arnold. I mean, Arnold has one of the most recognizable faces in human history. So,
Yes.
and it's just because of how iconic Arnold is. There's a reason one of our brackets is named after Arnold, right? So that was the tough part for me there. Everything that's happening is incredible, and it's great work, and you can see the interplay of the three characters all trying to get their own motivations. Where you can see desperation on John Connor. You can see the determination of both the T1000 and the T600. And you can see both have this icy demeanor, but there's just something about Robert Patrick's that is given the sinister, where there's something about Arnold's where you just go, I think he's trying to help this time? Because especially during the movie, you don't know that the T600 is there to help yet. So, and that's kind of the reveal.
I think it's the T800.
Oh, sorry, T800. My apologies.
Just making sure.
Yeah, so it is the T800. Thank you. So you still don't know that, which is why the setup scene in the hallway is so great, because you see John Connor sees the Terminator and he's like, "Oh, I'm fucked." Arnold's Terminator, and then Arnold's Terminator just blows the T1000 away, and you're like, "Wait, what? Oh, he's here to help?
Yeah.
Okay, we get to root for him now. That's cool." But at the same time, it's so obviously done where you fully understand the scene really well. The scene mapping's incredible. So that's why I gave it to Terminator 2 in the end, even though more than any other scene except maybe one, this was the one that had the most danger of losing because it took me out of the scene. How many times I noticed I'm like, well, that's an obvious double. And I'm not expecting them to strap a 12-year-old kid into these scenes and just be like, well, we can do the stunts with him. I'm not expecting that. So it was more of the stuff with Arnold where I'm like, can we just fucking make this work a little bit better, guys? Like, show it from the side, show it from an angle, show it from something so you could clearly see it's not someone not Arnold, or it's clearly someone doing this that could be Arnold. But we're going to go Terminator on that one. You said 7-3. I said 6-4. So Terminator 2 with the victory with a 13-7. Okay. We now go to the T-Rex chase / scene, so to speak.
Yeah.
In Jurassic Park versus the first Wayman fight in Everything Everywhere All at Once. How did you score this?
I did 6-4 in favor of Jurassic Park.
This is the most lopsided victory I will have. I have 10-0 Jurassic Park.
Okay. I mean, the thing that I completely agree that the Jurassic Park scene is like 10 times the scene of Everything Everywhere. But in terms of, I gave it a lot of points for how it's definitely the most unique sequence in this bracket.
Yes.
And it's definitely the most high concept of all.
Yes. I can understand that. I thought about going 9-1. I don't feel good about the fact that I didn't give a single point to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No, I mean, it's fair.
To me, this was such a clear... This was the Coach Carter moment that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Where we're in the tournament. Who are we playing? This team. fuck, our
Yeah.
tournament's over. I assumed Jurassic Park was going to win, but I thought I'd put it in a 6-4, 7-3 kind of mode.
Hmm.
I Jurassic Park is brilliant to the point where, and I quote, maybe this should have been a number one seed. That's how good I thought that scene is.
No, I completely agree. I just give Everything Everywhere more points because like how unique it is
So
in
let's.
terms of, because I watched this matchup way later in. I like watched a lot of different matchups way earlier,
Sure.
and this was one of the last ones I watched. So Everything Everywhere was like such a refreshing thing to watch at that
It
point.
stood out so much.
Yeah, I was like, oh, hey, this is nice to see something weird.
And so I will give it this. I love the character moments in this. It serves the purpose and the story so well. There's still mystery and intrigue, but you're starting to get hints at what will make this high concept function a lot. You know, 10-0. Maybe it should be
Hey, no,
9-1, 8-2.
just stick with your
It's just,
gut.
to me, this is. I look at this, I equate everything to football in my head. This is the wild card team that I want to do really well, but they're clearly going up against the number one seed that is just the
Sure.
juggernaut that will win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is like when, to me, this was like when the Cleveland Browns had Baker Mayfield and they went into Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were so clearly better than them.
Hmm.
That's how I look at
Yeah.
this. It's just
Yeah,
so clearly that's how it goes.
there's a lot of great parts of Everything Everywhere, though. Like, I love that moment when Ki Kwan is like, he turns the little thingies on his ear,
Yeah.
and then he just turns on that charm for just that second, and then he gives a wink. It's like he still got it.
I mean, he's a two-time nominee in this tournament, so we gotta.
Yeah.
We love Ki Kwan. So this bracket honestly could have been called the Ki Kwan bracket, or this division of the bracket. I also broke my own rule. I didn't give it bonus points for having Michelle Yeoh. So, because I always think anything with Michelle Yeoh gets bonus points, even though she does nothing in the scene. She does she does the setup work of no, you can't do this and hide and all this stuff. I do love that turning a fanny pack into a brutal nunchuck-like weapon. That's genius. That's brilliant concept work.
When he pushed the fishbowl pebbles in there, that's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. And I agree, it's a great thing. I think it's a scene that could have made a run had it just been in got a better draw.
I agree. Yeah.
That is something I want to do, or maybe after the tournament we rank what we thought was the best scenes in order of what we thought they were, and you can tell some of these early losses, had they just gotten a better matchup, would have been a lot higher in our
that's
list.
definitely one of them. Yeah, I honestly didn't really stand a chance, to be quite honest.
Outside of maybe one scene, that might be the best scene Spielberg's ever mapped, ever. It's the Jurassic Park scene.
I mean, I disagree, but it's also it's the best scene of that movie, 100%.
Oh yeah. So Jurassic Park 16-4 victory over Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it pains me to eliminate a Michelle Yeoh movie and a Ki Kwan movie at that.
Yeah.
Ugh, it hurts me, but we'll move on. Now we go to Dylan's favorite actor, possibly still, was at one time.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. Well, maybe we've already set the stage for failure then. We have the bear attack in The Revenant with Dylan's former favorite actor, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes. One of my favorites.
Going up against the Jade Fox fight in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where this is the scene where it's 3-on-1 against Jade Fox. Then Lu Mei Bai comes in, which is Chow Yun-fat's character. Yeah. And then you get Ji Zhang coming in as well at the end. So those are the two scenes you're getting. It's the initial big fight.
This one was very lopsided for me. 8-2 in favor of Crouching Tiger.
I also have 8-2 in favor of Crouching Tiger.
Okay.
Um,
Just a real quick, because I don't want to overtalk Crouching Tiger, because obviously it's moving on and
yeah.
it won big. But you have never seen Crouching Tiger still, right?
That I solved that problem about a month ago.
Oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot.
But here's the thing: I understand because I'm watching these at a breakneck pace. Anytime Ab is
Yeah.
not around or I don't have anything to do, I immediately just devote 2 to 3 hours to a movie.
Was that your favorite fight sequence of the movie, or did you prefer a different?
I don't know. I think my favorite would be Michelle Yeoh versus Ji Zhang.
That's the other one that's like fantastic. Yeah.
Because the character work in that is so good. Where you can tell Michelle Yeoh's a better fighter. She just doesn't have the weapon and the moxie. But she's clearly the better opponent. That
Yeah.
to me, that's where I think the character work in that takes that over the top. The other thing I thought of is it's interesting that neither of us discussed the iconic scene from that movie where it's the two of them on the bamboo trees in the forest. Just
Yeah, I
like,
would prefer that. I mean, it's visually, I think it's probably the most interesting.
yes.
And honestly, it's like in terms of like the color and everything, it's gorgeous and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably the most iconic, but I don't prefer it in terms of actual action. All I could think about it while I was watching the J Fox scene was, I think they could get me to care about Star Wars if they got whoever to choreograph these fights. If they got them to choreograph some lightsaber fights
Well,
in Star Wars.
it sucks because the choreography of the lightsaber battles in episodes 1 through 3 is legitimately great. Nick Gillard does a great job.
I don't think it even stands up to. I think Crouching Tiger is like head.
I think Crouching Tiger is way better, but I don't
Uh,
want to come out and say that the lightsaber choreography of 1 through 3 is incredible. Now, not so much.
but I'm saying, like, imagine that Crouching Tiger choreography inside a lightsaber fight now, because
Pretty
that's
cool.
what it should be. They're all masters of.
They're all They're all wizards.
Boom.
Technically, they're all just space wizards with swords. That's all they
Yeah,
are.
I mean, that'd be pretty awesome.
It would be. It would be cool. I'm not gonna lie to you
Yeah.
if that happened.
And then to talk about the Revenant, yeah, it's just over a decade now, 2014. Hey, that shit holds up.
I will say the shaky cam aspects of it hurt for me, but it relays into the panic of the character.
Have you seen the full movie?
No.
Okay. So the camera work is all handheld the entire time,
Okay.
and it's like very subjective. Yeah, subjective, where it's like there'll be like parts. Actually, you saw it in the scene where like the bear breathes and you see the fog on the camera lens and
Yeah.
stuff. There's moments like that throughout the movie. Like stuff like that is always happening. It's pretty. It won best cinematography at the Oscars, so can't really argue with that, I guess. But
It's not my cup of tea cinematography wise. I liked the close up on Leo of the desperation. Really liked that. To me, the special effects of the bear to me look like they're trying to hide something through the shaky cam. The bear looks great on its own by itself, but when it's just dragging it around, it makes it feel as though they're trying to hide something, in my opinion.
You also have to consider that The Revenant is a $50 million movie. It's like
that's true.
It's not going to be the best visual effects in the world.
That's true.
But we actually did talk about that in the Oscars episode where it actually lost to Ex Machina,
Yeah.
which was a $15 million budget. So, but I mean, still like, hey, I mean, that's still expensive, I guess. But
it's expensive by real people numbers. It's
yes,
not expensive by Hollywood numbers.
Yes. Yeah, the thing that really I like about the Revenant scene is just how fucking brutal it is.
So brutal.
When he's just getting his back just like bitten and scratched up like that.
Oh, he's fucked in those.
My God. And then when he fucking crawls over to his gun, you're just like, no, what are you doing, you absolute fucking idiot?
Yeah.
Just you're golden. You're gonna be okay. Probably. Just play dead. You're gonna be okay. They're gonna walk away. And then as soon as he goes for that gun again, you're like, you're a dumbass.
It is one of those scenes where they do a good job with the emotion. And I know I'm biased here. Is part of you rooting for the bear?
Anytime there's an animal on screen, I'm rooting for it. I never want it to die. Ever.
Yeah, there's a couple other scenes in this tournament that the animal dies, and I'm like, man,
Because not only is that did the bear die, those cubs also died. They can't live without that mom.
yeah,
It's a death sentence for those cubs.
yeah, fuck you, Leo. Why are you doing that, man?
Those cubs probably got eaten by wolves
Or other grizzlies,
or other grizzlies.
because
Yeah,
they're fucking cannibals,
probably.
dude.
Yeah, probably male grizzlies. Yeah.
And
So-
Leo, what are you doing? And that's why you lost, Leo. That's why you lost, and that's why you're no longer Dylan's favorite
No,
actor.
but that is that. I also point that out in one of the upcoming scenes. Animals.
Yeah, hey, in all seriousness, it's really well shot. I love the facial coverage of Leo. It's just not my cup of tea cinematography because it's too shaky. I think it works because it gets the desperation across of the character and it makes you feel the same desperation. But same time, not my cup of tea that I think would have done the best.
I'll compare it to exactly the same way as Atomic Blonde, where it's very frenetic, but the camera work is saved by the fact that they're not also adding frenetic editing to that. So at least it's not both compounding on each other.
You mean like our play-in game loser, the Bourne Ultimatum?
Yes, because then you get the Bourne shaky cam and frenetic editing where it's just a fucking mess.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I hate.
Yeah. So, Crouching Tiger 16-4 win over the Revenant. I didn't really say much about that scene. We didn't really say much about that scene in general. Great fight choreography, and it's a 3 to 4 stage fight sequence where it's like mini fight into another mini fight. A lot of good work.
It'll get plenty of love. Trust me on.
That's. I mean, obviously, I don't know yet what the results are. The T-Rex chase versus that first fight in Crouching Tiger.
Oh yeah,
that's a juggernaut battle right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So that's going to be fun. But we are going to move on to our penultimate game in the Yo bracket. That is the Tigress fight of Gladiator, going up against it's the breaking of the wall in the Two Towers, or Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. So this is part of Helm's Deep, but it's not all of Helm's Deep. You have the Uruk-hai are marching on the causeway up the bridge. At the same time, you have the orc that blows the wall, and you have Gimli tries to save Aragorn. Aragorn saves Gimli, and then it's the classic Legolas slides down the stairwell. Mm-hmm. So that is the sequence that I found that I think best fits Helm's Deep. Because once again, I looked it up to be accurate. There is almost 40 minutes of runtime for the Helm's Deep battle in that movie. So we can't just say 40 minutes of Helm's Deep wins.
Not surprising. Yeah. So I did 6-4 in favor of Lord of the Rings.
I went 7-3 in favor of the Two Towers.
Okay.
As well.
I mean, you can't really argue with the Gladiator fight. It is a great fight.
Yes.
Actually, like, in terms of fighting sequences, it's one of the best one-on-one fights in the tournament, I would say.
And it's shot one of the best as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a shame that it went up against... It's another one where it just went up against something that is just like... undeniably great sequence.
Yes.
So it's like, it's a shame. because everything about Gladiator, you can't argue with it. Like, production design, amazing. The only thing that doesn't really hold up amazing is the visual effects, but that's just early 2000s compositing where they are real tigers that they're compositing into the scene.
Even still, they look pretty damn good.
No, it looks good, but like because I've seen so much behind the scenes on that movie, I see the
You see the dots, you see the wireframes, you see what
yes,
they're doing. Yeah.
yeah, like I see behind it, so it's like that's the only thing that goes against it in my mind. But like I love when like they're pulling the tiger away from the guy tigress,
Yeah.
and then the crowds are just booing and shit. Like,
So I think the best part of I don't think that fight by itself, just the fight, is super exciting. I think it's really cool. But I don't think the fight by itself is super exciting. What makes it exciting, and I understand my own bias here, it's just pro wrestling. Where it's your babyface, your heel, and the crowd is the third character. The crowd is what makes that scene not just good but iconic, and the crowd work by Maximus is also what makes him the ultimate babyface. Like that is such a babyface move to where at the end of the fight is tremendous.
Which is ironic because the entire movie he's like he doesn't give a shit about the crowd. He's just like
no,
he resents them pretty much the entire movie.
He and the thing is, it's the perfect. If you want to understand why sports is compelling and the athletes that we love in history, we just worship them. It's because they have the crowd in the palm of their hand. It's the same reason why I love pro wrestling, because you want to go on the ride. You want the manipulation of everything. It's not that, Cody Rhodes isn't getting punched in the face to the point where he's going to bleed out, but you just want him to get up and be the American Nightmare. You just want him to get up so you can cheer for him because that's who he is. It's perfect here where it's literally like just watching Stone Cold Steve Austin. Nah, fuck you, boss. I'm not going to do what you want, and I'm going to teach these people how it's actually supposed to be. It's textbook. It's perfect.
Yeah. Great ending, yeah, as well, where he spares them, yeah.
Yeah, and he spares them in spite of the Emperor and the whole crowd who's been cheering death, 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 death. They all turn in an instant, and they're like, "No, this guy's right. We like this guy. Fuck it."
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's the merciful. We love him, and you're like, you're just cheering for him to fucking slaughter a guy 5 seconds ago. God damn.
Yep.
But again, the tiger work is really well done. I love that shot of him getting the tiger on its back or on his back, where you're just like, that would suck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar enough to say this with confidence. There was the one like tiger cry that I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a panther or a jaguar.
Pretty much all tigers and lions in movies are wrong. Pretty much.
Yes. They all have jungle cats.
Yes, because lions do not roar typically like they do in the movies. They have a very deep like bellow, really.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, anytime they roar, lions don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hate to break to you, but just the thing.
And again, this is a super nitpicky thing that I was like, I'm not sure they sound like that. But
I do really like that. Like, could you imagine how bad it would have been if they tried doing like CG tigers back in 2000?
Oh
God.
Could have been real
George
bad.
Lucas would have tried pulling it off.
Here's the thing, though. He at least would have made it look good. You'd say what you want about Phantom Menace. That shit looks good, dog. I don't know if the tigers would have looked good, but everything else looks good.
Anything with fur would not hold up. It would have looked like Monsters, Inc.
What's really crazy is fur is so tough for visual effects people to this day, where they're like, I hate anything with fur. I hate it.
That's why Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was like another groundbreaking thing this year. Like they're still working on fur.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to pull off.
Yeah, but I love it's textbook babyface heel stuff here. Where Tigers comes in and you're like,
Mhm.
You fucking hired gun. Like, there's nothing about that character that screams, like, the character itself does not scream, I'm a heel, you should hate me.
Oh
But
no,
because of,
actually, I think he seems pretty honorable.
he seems pretty honorable. Also, the costuming that he has with that slider helmet and the teardrop on the mask, that's awesome. That is some good looking
Hmm.
costume work. That shit's beautiful. It's just that textbook nature of he's the hired gun for the ultimate heel. Ergo,
Yeah,
fuck you, you need to die because you're up against our
yeah,
guy. So I really appreciate that. Again, my thing with Two Towers is I will elaborate more. That scene in Two Towers is some of the best fantasy world building you could ever do, and you never know they're world building at the time.
yeah.
So,
Uh, there's a lot of reasons it's great. We'll dive deeper into it obviously in the future, but like I watched the behind the scenes thing, and like one of the groundbreaking things is like um the breakthrough of crowd work in visual effects.
yeah.
Like before you could really simulate crowds
Yeah.
before, and they were able to do that in Two Towers. So in those Helms Deep, it's really important for it to be a crowd
Oh,
and
yeah.
not just, you know, single piece
I mean,
armies,
just
you know.
think about the money you'd have to spend in costuming alone to outfit
Yeah.
all those people and all the extra work and all the other stuff you got to do if you're going
Yeah,
to do that.
exactly.
And they still had an enormous amount of people working on it. It's not as if the whole thing is just, well, we created an army of 10,000 Urukai. It's like, no, there's still hundreds of
Yeah.
people in Urukai costumes and makeup. It's just the shit way in the back of the scene, that's computer generated. But yeah, Two Towers is such a phenomenal film. Um, we're heading for some good matchups in round two here. But Two Towers takes it 13-7 up against Gladiator. Again, Gladiator, luck of the draw, and you didn't get the luck of the draw.
Mm.
Here we go. We're going to the kitchen fight in the Raid 2. Going up against the minecart chase in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And this is our final matchup in the Yo bracket. Or the Yo division of the bracket.
Yep.
How'd you score it?
7-3 in favor of Temple of Doom.
I have 8-2 in favor of Temple of Doom.
Nice.
I mean, this is the scene that you fought for this one. I wasn't originally going to put minecart
Yes,
in.
I fought hard for Temple of Doom.
We both love Temple of Doom, but
Yeah.
it's to me that there's clearly the one of that franchise.
I'll say I chose Temple of Doom purely because there's way more variety in that sequence.
Yes. And
There's so much different things going on.
the thing is what's funny is I was watching it and there's still jokes in there as well to give you a little breath
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
fresh air, but they're done in a context that you can buy, which is kind of crazy.
Hmm. Well, that's the charm of Spielberg. He'll have character moments even in, you know, the biggest action sequences.
Right. The in terms of everything, it starts off a little slow, but it just keeps picking up pace throughout
Well,
the entire scene.
I love when Short Round uses the guy as a little ramp to go into
Yeah.
the cart, and then you have like him doing that long ass swing down into the cart. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, that's movie
And
magic
then
right there.
also just the variety of actual filmmaking styles. You have like puppetry, and then also like early 80s visual effects work, compositing work,
Yeah.
and like so many different things. So
ILM baby.
yep.
ILM. Thank God for ILM. Could you imagine what our favorite movies from the 80s would be without ILM? God damn.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then the Raid 2, it's a good sequence. It's a really good one-on-one fight.
yes.
But again, my problem with it is they are taking so much damage,
Yes.
and it still goes on for so long.
That's why I went 8-2. I think the cinematography in that is great, and I think there are moments that I think that fight needs to end right after they crash into all the wine collection. And it keeps going for another 3 minutes. And it's just they keep
Yeah,
going cut after cut after cut to each other. And it just is it's again over the top Asian gratuitous violence in from Asian filmmaking. I mean, not just Asian violence. I'm not trying to make a statement on an entire, you know, culture or race of people or anything. In terms of Asian filmmaking, that's where that comes from. Is just I'm gonna take cut after cut after cut after cut. I'm gonna get stabbed 17 times, and I'm still just gonna be like,
yeah.
and it's
Well,
not.
that the villain of the sequence would have bled out easily in the sequence, and then our hero would have definitely died in terms of internal bleeding.
Right.
Like after that sequence, you would have been going, "Oh fuck, I need a hospital, dude."
And that's inherently why I did that. I love the coverage where they zoom out a lot and they get the big stuff and they make you understand the scene and they bring you in tight. I like all the camera work in the kitchen fight from the Raid 2. I think that's truly great. The camera work I think is impeccable in it. And a lot of unique stuff happens in that. I love what the crash through the window into the wine cooler and then taking out the entire wine collection. I think that's really fun and enjoyable and something different. Like you don't usually see that in an action sequence.
I would have liked a little more object work
Yes.
with like the wine bottles or something, or like because they're in a kitchen. Like
There's
there's
so many
plenty of
weapons. There's so many
yeah.
weapons.
So that would have been fun. I like the very beginning of the fight where it's like it's kind of very Wesley versus Inigo in
Yeah.
Princess Bride, where they're
Which
like
we're going to talk about in the next round. Yeah.
yeah, where they're like sussing each other out a little bit at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then the actual fight starts. I like that. Yeah, it just goes on a little too long.
It's gratuitous, and gratuitous is not always good. You have to balance. If you want to make a gratuitous fight scene where it's so clearly over the top, you need to A, have a tone that matches, or B, have a very damn good explanation and coverage for it. Because all action scenes that we have in this tournament, outside of a select few, they're all gratuitous, but they have something to them that makes it tangible, the tone matches, something happens. And when you're trying to give this action sequence something in which there's stakes, and the knife doesn't have any stakes if he gets cut 17 times.
Yes, yeah, that's very true.
Getting
Yeah,
stabbed would suck, obviously. But getting stabbed in the Raid 2 is different than getting stabbed in a different movie.
yeah,
So it's one of those that's what takes it away from that. Again, nothing to the cinematography, the choreography,
yeah. Great
incredible.
choreography. Yeah,
The shots are well done. The use of the kitchen I think could be more creative, but it's still pretty damn good, nonetheless.
you get Jackie Chan in there, he'd be using every single item.
Oh, exactly, and that's the thing is, but then you start going into, are we going a little too comedic if we take one of the pots that's on the burner already and hit someone over the head with it?
That's fun.
To me, I think that's where the Raid 2 is a perfect example of you need to have discipline when making a movie.
Oh, it should be stated, I've not seen the Raid 2.
Nor have I, but I've watched a couple scenes to try to get the tone. Where the reason you kind of want to go shorter sometimes is the impact is felt. If he gets cut a couple times and you're like, oh, he's in really bad shape, but he made it out, you're okay. But when you're not, this isn't even an end sequence. This is like in the middle of the movie, I believe. So
That's what it felt like. Yeah.
So you're like, how are you going to go through all of this? Where even in John Wick, where it's super gratuitous, they make sure John gets damage, but nothing to the point where like, how the fuck is he going to come up from this shit?
Yeah. Until the later movies, sure.
Until 3 gets into that, 4 is obviously the worst with it. Like John Wick 2 does, I think, a perfect job of going, this man won't die.
Yes.
He can't die. But how the fuck is he going to keep doing this, you know? So there's those motions of that. I just think there needs to be more discipline in the Raid 2. But that is our entire division of round 1. So that's a 15-5 win for the Temple of Doom. So to recap the Yo division, going on to the second round, our matchups. We have Interstellar and the docking sequence taking on the Crazy 88 fight from Kill Bill. That's a wild tone shift to deal with. We then take on the Incredibles, which is Dash and Violet fighting the Gliders, taking on truck chase sequence from Terminator 2. Which is going to be interesting. Again, big tonal shift. And then what could be possibly the matchup of the entire tournament based on our scoring, with a T-Rex chase from Jurassic Park taking on the Jade Fox fight from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Oh, that's toughy. That's gonna be tough.
That is tough. Yeah, and I'm torn there already.
So we have that, and then we also have the breaking of the Deeping Wall in Two Towers, which is known best for the legless slide on the shield, taking on the minecart chase sequence from the Temple of Doom. I think that one's going to be a really tough one for us because I already know what you're going to favor and what I'm going to favor, and it's just going to come down to scoring.
Yeah, I might have to do a lot of like deep research for that one.
You clearly are the one that's going behind the scenes and doing everything. I'm just watching and consuming.
Not for everything, but for some of these I want to, because I want to. That might like skew into some of my scoring later.
But that is going to do it here for the Yo division bracket. Those are your round 2 matchups. Going in to round 2 should be a lot of fun from the Yo division. Like I said, I think the Yo division might be the pound for pound the best division.
Yeah, I think so.
So that'll do it. Stay tuned. You're going to get a second episode today right away of more round 1 action. But that is going to do it for this episode of the tournament. And thank you for joining us here on the ONETA Show. You're going to get another ONETA Show back-to-back today. Plus, we got more Wisco Movie Watchers podcast coming at you as well for some round of 64 action. But thank you guys so much for watching today. Look forward and tell us what you think in the comment section. We should always say that. Tell us what you think in the comment section and pick your winners. I'd love to see other people's opinions on that. So that'd be a heck of a lot of fun. But thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you may be. For Dylan and myself, peace, love, and hugs. Goodbye! Peace.